Greetings, everyone, and welcome back once again to the Carla Thomas Story, Part 3. After the Stax Vault Tour and other engagements, Carla was back in the studios with Stax, recording yet another masterpiece single entitled I'll Always Have Faith in You, composed by Eddie Floyd and Al Bell, charting number 11 R&B on August 5th, 1967, and in addition to her classic fourth LP, The Queen Alone.
I will always have faith in you.
The LP was nominated a Grammy for Best R&B Vocal Performance Female, but unfortunately lost to Aretha Franklin's Respect in 1968. Carla was chosen by the U.S. forces in Vietnam as their queen and received the 1967 award in recognition of her selection as their favorite American artist. By 1967, reigned Carla Thomas as the Queen of Memphis Soul. Stax executive Al Bell brought in Detroit singer, songwriter, producer, and musician Don Davis into the Stax fold in 1967. Davis, a former session musician, played guitar on two of Ed Wingate's labels, Golden World and Rick Ticket, and sat in some of the early Motown sessions back in the day. Al Bell had the idea of cross-fertilizing the Detroit sound with the Memphis groove, and to expand Carla's career for a broader mass marketing appeal. Don Davis was hired especially to produce Thomas. Her first issue with Davis's Watts Stax production was Pick Up the Pieces. With its distinctive melodic haunting chord structure, crafted with a touch of sophisticated polished strings and chimes, it was more of a Detroit feel than a Memphis feel. Released in 1967, the song hit number 16 R&B on February 3rd, 1968 to round out that year. After its release during the first week of December, Carla would receive some tragic news. On Sunday afternoon, December 10th, 1967, at approximately 3:28 p.m., one of the illuminated stars that shine brightly in the center of the galaxy, Otis Redding, and 5 members of the Barkays, including the pilot Richard Frazier, died when Redding's Beechcraft H-18 plane crashed into the icy waters of Lake Monona just outside of Madison, Wisconsin. They were headed to the Factory nightclub scheduled to perform at 6:30 p.m. On December 18, 1967, Otis's funeral took place at the Macon Civic Auditorium. About 4,500 mourners were there, including James Brown, Joe Tex, Solomon Burke, and Wilson Pickett, and who were also the pallbearers. The same week Carla's single Pick Up the Pieces was issued, Otis Redding was putting together his iconic masterpiece recording of Sitting on Dock of the Bay. Rest easy, Otis. We miss you.
In the morning sun, I'll be sitting when the evening comes.
In 1968, a major transition at Stax Records took place as the distribution agreement between the parties of the label and Atlantic Records, cemented in May of 1965, included a clause stating if Atlantic should sell or merge with another company, Stax had the option to continue and become a part of the deal or declare the contract null and void. In January 1968, Warner Brothers bought Atlantic Records for $17 million. There was also a 6-month transition period that the Atlantic Stax contract had provided. The termination date was on Monday, May 6, 1968, in which Stax declined the deal. Unfortunately, the label lost its entire back catalog, including its artists, like Sam and Dave, who were loaned to the label, who also had no idea of the deal. Jim Stewart and Sister Estelle sold Stax to a conglomerate company, Gulf and Western, on the same date as May 6, and Al Bell was nominated as vice president of the company. As the contractual transformation was settled at Stax, new label variations took place through the now association and distribution of Gulf and Western. A yellow background was installed with a finger snap placed in the light blue rectangular box. Al Bell quoted, "Stax was that finger snapping music." Carla Thomas's last Stax single released with the Stax of Wax blue background logo was the uncharted "A Dime a Dozen." Issued on March 29, 1968, Thomas reportedly hated the song because she said it was staged in a Sam and Dave fitting. Carla also hated the lyric that David Porter wrote, "A dime a dozen on a Tootsie Roll," which she thought was extremely silly. Thomas said, "Yeah, that's what this song ought to go." And David Porter was concentrating on who was hitting, and who was hitting was Sam and Dave. With her concurrent touring and recording schedule, Carla Thomas had to put off completing her education at Howard University once again on hold. Her celebrity status as an artist was celebrated in D.C. with a Carla Thomas Day or week, showering her with a banner display. Carla traveled to New York with Stax Vice President Al Bell to produce and record her next single, "Where Do I Go?" from the Broadway musical Hair.
Where do I go? Follow the river. Where do I go? Follow the gun.
And her beautiful composition, "I've Fallen in Love with You."
I've fallen in love with you. Please tell me what else was there to do.
Back with New York session players, Chuck Rainey on bass, Bernard Purdy on drums, guitarist David Spinoza, and background vocals provided by the Sweet Inspirations. Released in October 1968 with the new Stax logo, Carla wanted her song "I've Fallen in Love with You" to be the A-side, but the company chose "Where Do I Go?", which struggled on the number 38 R&B position on November 2nd, 1968. Thomas performed her composed song live on the shows, where radio jocks started to air the song enough for it to chart 10 months later, first at number 50 R&B on August 2nd, 1969, then it re-entered on September 13th at number 37, charting number 36 on September 20th, 1969. Carla performed "Where Do I Go" on Hugh Hefner's 1969 classic syndicated show, Playboy After Dark. Carla Thomas's next single would be her last R&B top 10, another masterpiece groove entitled "I Like What You're Doing to Me." Composed by Homer Banks, Raymond Jackson, and Betty Crutcher, the same songwriting trio who wrote the $3 million seller for Johnny Taylor, "Who's Making Love" in 1968. Under the production of producer Don Davis, Carla complained that the song was completed when she came to the studio to cut, and was upset that Davis didn't use the Stax musicians. Instead, used his musicians from his hometown of Detroit. Thomas also hated the horn arrangements of the song and turned blue while cutting the track, and wished he obtained the services of the Memphis horns, in which she said without his arrangements, the song could have been bigger. Songwriter Betty Crutcher said that the song was tailor-made for Thomas because Stax founder Jim Stewart said that they needed some hits for Carla. Crutcher based I Like What You're Doing to Me to her hit of 1966, B-A-B-Y, where Thomas emphasized the word baby prominently, which basically became her signature word for a selling point. Betty says she wrote another song for Carla pertaining to the word baby, but Thomas refused to even look at it and said, "If I have to sing another song with the word baby in it again, I'll die." With hurt feelings, Betty Crutcher never wrote another song for Thomas ever again. I Like What You're Doing to Me charted number 9 R&B on Billboard's R&B singles on April 5th, 1969. Songwriter Homer Banks is singing together with Carla on the baby part of the song. At the same time, Stax produced a TV special entitled Getting It All Together, modeled after the Motown special TCB, which meant Taking Care of Business, starring Diana Ross and the Supremes and the Temptations, that aired on NBC on Monday, December 9th, 1968. The Stax special, starring Carla Thomas, Booker T and the MGs, and Sam and Dave, among others, was taped at the Metro Media Studios in New York and was aired on Thursday, April 24th, 1969 on Channel 5. Booker T. Jones served as the musical director on the show. Well, to keep the ball rolling, Stax issued a double compilation record album entitled Boy Meets Girl with 22 tracks, pairing Stax artists, male and female, as duets. 4 singles from the album features 3 of Carla's duets, first with Johnny Taylor, Just Keep On Loving Me,
Just keep on loving me and you'll see a change. Just promise me your love will remain the same.
2 with William Bell, I Need You Woman, and the remake of the Everly Brothers 1958 classic, All I Have to Do Is Dream, which was the B-side of Bell's duet with Mavis Staples on Leave the Girl Alone. And of course, the Stax Clan jam, Soulallujah. Soon afterwards, to capitalize on Thomas's name, Atlantic Records compiled past hits by Carla Thomas during its distribution years with Stax and issued it as The Best of Carla Thomas from 1961 to 1968. After I Like What You're Doing to Me in 1969, the hits diminished for Thomas throughout the early 70s as she only charted 2 singles in the top 50 R&B field. Got Me Well in 1970, and You've Got a Cushion to Fall On in 1972.
Got me well. You got a cushion to fall on. You got a cushion to fall on.
Carla released her last Stax album in 1971 entitled Love Means.
I'm in the corner.
On a Sunday summer afternoon on August 20th, 1972, Stax organized a historical benefit concert that took place at the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum to commemorate the 7th anniversary of the 1965 riots in Watts, Los Angeles. Naming it Watts Stax, founded by the company's West Coast director Forrest Hamilton, 10 of Stax's most prominent artists were scheduled to perform that afternoon and evening, including Carla Thomas, Rufus Thomas, Isaac Hayes, the Staple Singers, Luther Ingram, Rance Allen, and many others. The music was provided by Project Soul, who later gained fame in the late 70s as Confunction.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to present to you Carla Thomas. Come on, Carla.
Carla Thomas embraced the audience of 100,000 with 4 of her classic hits and 1 gospel song, Gee Whiz. Pick Up the Pieces.
Tell me now, can we pick up the pieces?
I Like What You're Doing to Me. B.A.B.Y. Baby. And the gospel tune she wrote for the concert, I Have a God Who Loves.
I have a God who knows. He knows and he feels.
The concert was made into a film, directed by Mel Stewart and nominated for a Golden Globe Award for Best Documentary in 1974. The film was released in theaters in 1973. The Stax imprint released a double album of the concert's great highlights. Carla Thomas semi-retired from the music business and concentrated more on working with school kids and becoming heavily involved in the Artists in the Schools program in Memphis, Tennessee.
To your heart.
Once in a while, she'll perform live sporadically throughout the 80s and 90s.
Look at his eyes.
In 1993, Carla Thomas was bestowed with a Pioneer Award from the Rhythm and Blues Foundation with powerful entries and friends such as James Brown, Wilson Pickett, and Solomon Burke. Rhino issued a compilation CD of her greatest hits in 1994 and a 2002 recording of her live performances in Memphis, Tennessee. In 2003, Carla Thomas was featured in the music documentary Only the Strong Survive. And in honor of appreciative concert performances over the years, in 2007, Rhino released Live at the Bohemian Caverns, recorded in 1967. The Bohemian Caverns was a jazz hotspot located in Washington, D.C., and in this musical issue features her Howard University classmate and music royalty, Donny Hathaway, with his all-star band. And in 2013, Carla Thomas was inducted into the Memphis Music Hall of Fame. Through her musical monarch, Carla Thomas graced the world with her gift of combining abilities as a performer and songwriter. Through her golden fingers with the stroke of a pen, Carla's contributions are forever documented as a part of the genesis of the founding sounds of Memphis that will be forever cherished. She will always reign supreme as the Queen of Memphis. I also dubbed her the First Lady of Stax Records. Let's just be thankful that the music outlives the woman, or in this case, the Queen. Until we meet again musically, I am the Chancellor of Soul.
Baby, oh baby, I love to call you baby. Baby, oh baby, I love for you to call me baby.
Soul Facts, a show created, written, produced, and copywritten by the Chancellor of Soul, Mike Boone. And also, it is a non-profit production.